All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Samba. We're going to talk about the Bota Fogos going into promenade and counter promenade in today's lesson as a nice little exercise and really great way to practice this most crucial rhythmical action and step in the Samba. But let me start off with a little story which I thought was like awesome. Recently I was teaching you could say you got raw beginners, and then we teach a class called the improver class, which sort of is a catch-all for people who have just started their dancing journey, right, in their quest. And I was showing them, and I generally, before I teach Samba, I actually like to teach the Voltas across, like boom, 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 4 up to a count of 8. I like to teach them Bota Fogos, just traveling forward. And then sometimes I add the whisks on top of that, and then I drill it, and that's just one class, right? We'll just drill that the whole class, learning the basics of understanding how to teach it. Sometimes you'll see my YouTube channels on Voltas and things like that, so I run them through building up from feet, a little bit about the hips and body, but I don't focus a lot on that because it's too distracting. But this is the story. I remember the second lesson we had on this, I said, okay, I have a student in her 70s, and I got her to take out her notebook, and I got her to write on the page an acronym, D, and she wrote it little. I said, scrap that out. I want it big. Remember this, D, and she put that down. I said, T, she wrote that down, and I went, A. I said, what do you reckon that stands for? And she's like trying to think of like technique, like dance technique, always. And I'm like, no. Okay, it stands for dance that ass, right? The class loved it, right? Because what happens with most people is when they go to dance, is they forget to actually move, right? To really try to create a rhythmical action. And it's really tempting to get caught in technique land. It's really important not to get caught up on technique. Meaning less than, and this is really crazy to understand, but less than 10% of what you are judged on is your technique. Yet your technique frees you up to dance. So keep that in mind. So what do we then focus on? Rhythm, okay? So for example, if you turn your feet in on every movement, you'll have poor technique, therefore your rhythm is going to be affected, right? Now if you have outstanding technique, but you're not using any rhythm, you're going to look extremely weird, right? So I give you the permission, as I gave this class, to D.T.A, right? You got to move your hips and your body. And you might feel weird, but do you know what's weirder? Not doing it. Not doing it is weirder, right? Because you end up being there super stiff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like you got a bad limp versus rhythm. And that's the irony, right? The more ridiculous you feel, sometimes the better you actually are. So full permission's given, you're in your own room and house, it's just you and me, right? So you've got the ability. Now, you might then think, well, how do I move my hips? How do I move my body? Ballroom Mastery Academy next level goes so in depth, and I mean there's over 200 videos, okay, in that course alone, just on how do you move your upper body, how do you move your hips, how does it connect to feet, right? How do you connect that to music, right? It's very in depth, but there is a structure to it. But again, you can learn that, and then you get so frozen on not doing it right that you forget to dance. So don't forget to dance. Use rhythm. Now, what I would encourage you to do is keep that D.T.A principle in mind, right? Is to just, even if you don't know how to do it, just give it a shot. And so a good example of this is if you stand on your left foot, this is the Bota Fogo position for the man and lady. The left leg is bent, the right foot is always with pressure through the ball of the foot. Please keep that in mind. Now, from here, you keep your hip high. The right hip is always up. One of the problems people have in Bota Fogos is they end up dropping their hips and keeping them neutral. This is not good. It will result in a sunken pelvis and you will look like a magoo. And we don't want to look like a magoo, right? So the hip is high because of the leverage of the legs. My leg is bent, and the pressure through this one, because this is bent, pushes my hip up naturally. Now my shoulders are level. So now what you do for a rhythm bounce is you can get your knee to bend a little bit and your hip to go up. So you can go like that. Boom, 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 boom. So that's a nice way of practicing a rhythm bounce in this position. You can go 1, 2. So 1, 2, and D.T.A, right? And that's a way you can actually commence Bota Fogo actions, right? You can get that boom, chicka ba, chicka boom, chicka ba. And you get your body to create the feel, bum, chicka ba. Use a bit of shoulders, boom, chicka ba, chicka doom, bum, 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 and boom, chicka ba, right? You can start to create that feel. And so I encourage you to do that straight off the bat, and you play with the rhythm bounce, right? You can go 7 and a 8 and a 1, off you go. Okay, so D, T, A. Have a bit of fun with it, because what I often say in these classes that I'm talking to these people who have come from a desk job most of the time, I go, just between you and me, it's a dance studio. You are allowed to express your dancing. You are allowed to move your body, because it is not ankles down. It's whole body movement, right? So with that in mind, let's look at what we're going to do, which will be the Bota Fogos, which go from promenade to counter promenade. Now remember, in Latin, promenade is the position of the feet and the body, and often a hold as well. And so all it is the man and lady open up to form a V, and counter promenade is the other way. So I'd be on my right foot, and the lady would be on the left foot, and we're in counter promenade. So that's all it means. The Bota Fogo is what we're really focusing on more than anything, and that is the position of the feet, and we have a beat value, or a count, I should say, rhythm count of 1 or 2, and a beat value of 3/4, quarter 1. And so if I demonstrate what we're going to start with, watch this first. So as the man said, before you start, you've got your little rhythm bounce going on. So 7 and 8, and then into the Bota Fogo. 1, 2, and then 3, 4, then 5, 6, and Spot Volta, 7, 8. And we're ready to start again with the Bota Fogo to promenade. Okay? As the lady, you've got your step, and 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. And then you're ready to start again, okay? Now you can do this in a closed position, but on your own, it's far better to have your own arms, just have a little bit of movement associated for your freedom, because you don't want to be too stiff when you dance this, okay? Because it will distract from the rhythm. So now, let's look at what we're doing as an actual development of movement. So, gentlemen, let's start with your feet first, okay? So copy me at home. So with your feet together, how do you move forward in Latin, ladies and gentlemen? How do you do it? In Samba, you use the ball of your foot. So the footwork is basically going to be ball, flat, ball, ball, flat. That's what you got to think about. You push the ball of the foot through the floor, and then you land on a flexed knee to allow your body to create a bounce rhythm out of the leg. It's very important in Bota Fogos that you only have a minimal transference of weight. So actually I'm going to backtrack. Before we go into the actual choreography, let me just get you to stand so you can understand weight positions. So first of all, put your feet flat on the floor, completely flat, toes turned out. This would be a very bad position to be in for Bota Fogos. So now shift your weight to your left foot, which would release the heel off the other leg. This would be a better weight position. So you would have more weight on your left leg than your right leg. But the right foot will not be lowered, okay? So the heel cannot touch the floor, because you must be using the ball of your foot to do what we call a transference. So the transference is minimal, meaning if you watch my buttons of my shirt, if I take that onto the leg, that's too much transference. I use enough to move my hip weight onto the leg and change direction. So that's why Bota Fogos can go forward, they can go backwards, they can turn, they can go into promenade and counter promenade. It's because of this transference. So one of the things you think about is a Bota Fogo basically changes direction and alignment, okay? So we use the hip to do it, not the head weight, okay? So that's important. Now if we go onto the other leg, so weight in the middle, shift bending the right knee, okay? Bring that hip up, left heel's off the floor, same thing, with that hip weight, boom, but the head's very still. The arms can move, right? But the hip weight is doing the way, boom, boom, right? And so we're not shifting onto the leg. So a big mistake people make in Bota Fogos is they go 1, and on look at where my body is. It's now lowering onto the right heel, and then they try to come back. If you count the rhythm, 1 or 2, what the means is a quarter of a beat. A quarter. How fast is Samba, right? A quarter of a beat is all you have to do the second step of your Bota Fogo, and you're trying to lower the heel. You see why you have a problem, right? So if I go like this, 1, heel down, 2, that music will own me. That music will own me more than my wife, right? It's just gonna take me out. I have no time. But if I allow my weight, 1, to stay here and use the hip to change direction, boom, I have more power, right? So 1, 2. And that's what we want to think about. We're grounded. The bounce rhythm doesn't mean we're rising and falling, and we concentrate on that movement coming in from the hips, right? To create a nice rhythmical action. Okay, so with that in mind, let's come back to the actual pattern that I was explaining before. Okay, so let's take it away as the man with the left foot forward. So you go forward, ball flat, bend the knee, to the side, ball, then ball flat. You're in promenade position. Now take your right foot forward, ball flat, turn the back foot out. Then use the ball of the left foot, ball, turn and change direction, ball flat. This is counter promenade. Now bring the foot through for the third one, final one. Ball flat, ball, ball flat, and now you're in promenade. You could do a samba walk from here, but what we will do in this case is a spot volta going to our right, and we'll go around the right foot. Spot volta. That way, with the left foot free, you can do the whole madness again. And it also brings it to a nice neat bar of 8, and you know, I love my phrasing. I love my phrasing so much, so we've got to be on phrase, okay? Nice bar to 8 is a good way to practice. And of course, as a couple, you can use this very simply for a basic level choreography, okay? Or a practice warm-up exercise. So guys, let's do it one more time, then ladies, it's on to you. So here we go. 5, 6, spirit fingers on the 8, and a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7, a 8. All right, and then you're ready to roll. Boom shakalaka. Now ladies, your turn. So the man is starting on the left foot, you will start on the right foot, commencing backwards. So ladies, switching gender, let's do this, ladies, this is you. So with your right foot, you go backwards. So 7, 8, now backwards, 1. Bend that right knee. Now to the side, 2. Now left foot forward. Ball flat for 3, then 4. Now right foot forward for 5, then 6. Now from here, bring the left foot in just a little bit for 7, then 8. Okay? So, when you are looking at the Bota Fogo action as the lady, it's the same technique as the man. The weight we're trying to use, you just might use a little bit more like femininity. The way you sort of soften and like use your hands would be a bit different. The gestures would be different. But the technique, footwork, the way you transition your weight, the use of beat value, that's the thing that you do the same, okay? So let's do that as the lady one more time. So 7 and a 8 and a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, a 8. Now, last tip, when you're all doing the spot volta, remember that left foot does not stay where it is. One of the mistakes I see with this particular movement when you want to do from a Bota Fogo movement into a spot volta is if my left foot's there, just as an example, I don't want to actually travel onto it because it'll take too much time. Bring the left foot in and do half a turn or a quarter of a turn, okay? Just a little bit of turn. And then use the next step as you rise up onto the ball of the foot to do more of the turn for yourself. Because big problems can come is if I transfer here and then try to come around, it's going to be weird. I won't stay with my partner and I'll also disappear off the face of the earth. And the flat earth theorists would be right. We don't want to be those people. Okay, so from here, I'm on the internet. I might cop some flack for that one. Okay, so now, gentlemen, that's the same for you. If you're on your right foot or left, either way, and a spot volta has to commence, bring the foot in, create your Cuban cross so you've got balance, and then rise up on the ball of your foot, around, and then back. So that's how spot voltas work. They are on the spot. You dance around the center of a foot, boom, boom. So up and around, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. You can do as much turn as you need. All right, so always remember we need to still have the bouncing action. One last thing, quick tip about timing. Please note voltas change in timing. Why? How many steps are in a Bota Fogo? Go. That's my waiting music. How many steps? 3. So your timing is 1 or 2. Still using 2 beats of music, but you've got 3 steps. How many steps are in a volta? 2, right? So we go 1. That's it. So one single volta, spot, circular, or traveling, they're all the same. Ideas is 1. That's one volta. If I did another one, 2. So in our instance, where we're doing 3 Bota Fogos, the spot voltas, we have 2 of them, okay? Because there's only 2 steps. So we're going 7, 8 as an example. Or as the other way, we'd be going 7, 8. So when we count this, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is really important you pay attention to the timing. Now, please note that the phrasing doesn't change, like we're still finishing on the 8th bar or the 8th beat of a bar. That's okay, right? But it is the use of the count that matters, because as a dancer, you need to be developing that so you know rhythmical accents and beat value like the back of your hand. So it's not like the jive or the cha-cha where you just count 2, 3, 4, and 1, and maybe you add an and in if you're doing continuous locks, or an if you're doing wapacha timing. You actually want to delve deeper into the beats and beat values of samba to develop and enhance the rhythmical nature of the dance. So it's quite challenging, but man, it's fun, right? So here's what we're gonna do. You know the pattern, we'll do it once more together, and then I'll put on some music for you, and then you're gonna do it for 2 minutes straight, one after the other, no matter how you feel. You're just gonna keep going. You just be like, oh my God, so much to do. All right, so let's start off as the man first. So with the left foot, guys. So 5, 6, spirit fingers strong. 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. Then you start again, 1. Ladies, let's do your step. Okay, so with the right foot, ladies, here we go. Right foot, 7 and 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, chicka bang, right? Okay, so I did notice something interesting there for my own counting. I was putting in some ahs there to try to get a bit more of a feeling in my body. Feel free to do that. Note that when we create normal bass time in steps, as I explained with the Bota Fogo and Volta difference, that is for your feet, but advanced dancers will add in and counts and counts for their own boom, chicka boom rhythm. So feel free to go for it. Let's whack on some music. Here we go now.